Welcome to Kitchen Wisdom with Arina Photography. Pull up a chair in my kitchen studio, make yourself at home, and don't mind the potato peels on the counter. Today, we're diving into a dish that absolutely owns the Thanksgiving table, mashed potatoes. Creamy, buttery, fluffy, and sometimes lumpy, if you're me on a bad day. Mashed potatoes are one of those recipes that seems simple, but can spark endless debates. Butter versus cream, russets versus Yukon Golds, smooth versus rustic. I'll walk you through my favorite methods, share a few disasters I've had along the way, and give you some tricks to make your spuds shine this holiday season. First things first, the potatoes themselves. Russets are the classic choice. They're starchy and give you that fluffy texture. Yukon Golds, on the other hand, are naturally creamy and buttery with a gorgeous golden color. Honestly, I love mixing the two for the best of both worlds. I tried it one Thanksgiving and my family thought I'd pulled off some gourmet chef level trick. Nope, just potato math. Potatoes aren't just a grocery store staple, they have a huge presence in American agriculture. They're grown in many states, but Idaho and Washington are the real heavy hitters. Idaho alone produces over 30% of the nation's potatoes. Maine has its share of potato fame too. The main harvest season is late summer through early fall, which is why fresh potatoes are abundant heading into Thanksgiving. Storage techniques mean we get them year-round, but those fall potatoes are at their peak, and the history is fascinating. Potatoes originated in South America, were brought to Europe in the 1500s, and eventually made their way to North America, becoming such an important food that they're now a Thanksgiving non-negotiable. My grandmother used to tell me how during harder times potatoes really stretched meals, fried, boiled, mashed, baked, cheap, filling, and loved by everyone. No wonder they've stuck around. And let's talk quantity. The rule of thumb is about half a pound per person. I once made the mistake of guessing and ended up peeling potatoes for what felt like 3 days straight, only to end up with leftovers that lasted until New Year's. Lesson learned? Do the math before you start peeling. Boiling potatoes seems simple enough, but here's the trick. Always start them in cold salted water. Think of it like easing the potatoes into a nice warm bath instead of tossing them into a boiling hot tub. If you drop them straight into boiling water, the outside races ahead and cooks faster than the inside, and you end up with uneven, gluey mash. Been there, done that, didn't enjoy it, and my family definitely didn't either. Start cold, let them all come up to temperature together, and they'll cook evenly. And about the salt, don't be shy. The water should taste almost like the sea. This is your one big chance to season the potatoes all the way through, not just on the outside. I once skipped the salt because I was distracted, and the mash turned out so bland. I had to basically empty half a salt shaker at the table to rescue it. When they're fork tender, that means the fork slides out easily, not that you have to wrestle with it. Drain them really well. Extra water is the enemy of creamy mash. I even let mine sit in the hot pot for a minute to steam off any excess moisture. Think of it as a quick potato drying session. That one small step makes all the difference between silky, rich, mashed potatoes and something that looks and tastes more like potato soup. Now, mashing methods. The classic handheld masher gives you that rustic, slightly chunky texture that feels homey and comforting. I personally stick with the potato masher and do it by hand. This way, I can control exactly how chunky or smooth I want my mashed potatoes. Some days I like them with a few lumps for that homemade feel. Other days I keep going until they're practically cloud-like. A ricer makes them super smooth and restaurant-worthy, almost silky, which is perfect if you're trying to impress your guests. But just, please, Whatever you do, don't get carried away with a hand mixer or, heaven forbid, a food processor. Overworking the starch turns them into something closer to wallpaper glue than dinner. Yes, I made that mistake once, early on, and the result was so sticky it could have patched holes in drywall. My family still laughs about my glue potatoes, and it's a story that comes up every Thanksgiving as a cautionary tale. Now, we're diving into the fun part, adding flavors and mix-ins. Here's where the magic really happens. The flavor boosters. Start with the foundation. Warm cream or milk, never cold. It shocks the potatoes. Generous pats of butter, salt and pepper. That's your canvas. From there, you can start layering in creativity like a painter with a palette. Roasted garlic brings sweetness and depth. Sour cream gives tang. Cream cheese adds richness. And even a splash of chicken stock adds a savory note. Fresh herbs like chives or parsley give little pops of color and freshness, so your mash looks as good as it tastes. One year I got bold and added horseradish for a spicy kick. Half the table thought it was genius. The other half accused me of ruining Thanksgiving. You win some, you lose some, and sometimes you get funny family stories out of it. Want them extra decadent? Try folding in caramelized onions or even shredded cheese like sharp cheddar or parmesan. Those versions disappeared faster than the turkey at my house. Bacon bits also never hurt. I've had relatives literally arm wrestle for the last scoop of bacon mashed potatoes. You can also play with textures, a drizzle of olive oil for silkiness, or a dollop of Greek yogurt for tang and creaminess without being too heavy. If you're feeling adventurous, mix in roasted root veggies like parsnips or turnips to give your mash an earthy depth. Think of mashed potatoes as a blank canvas. You can dress them up rustic or make them fancy depending on your mood. And seasoning, this is huge. Potatoes are like little sponges soaking up flavor, so if you don't season them properly, they'll taste flat no matter how much butter you toss in. Taste, taste, taste as you go. I salt in stages, add pepper toward the end, and sometimes sneak in a pinch of nutmeg or smoked paprika for warmth. Don't be afraid of the salt shaker, it's your best friend here. A properly seasoned mash will make everyone think you're a genius, even if the turkey came out a little dry. And if you overshoot the salt, a splash of cream or a spoonful of sour cream can mellow it out. That's the beauty of mashed potatoes. They're forgiving, adaptable, and the kind of dish that lets you be both creative and practical in the kitchen. Next, we get into planning and serving strategies. Mashed potatoes are best fresh, but let's be real. On Thanksgiving, you're juggling 100 dishes. The good news? You can make them ahead. My trick? Whip them up the day before. Spread them in a casserole dish, dot, with butter, cover, and refrigerate. On the big day, just reheat in the oven until warmed through. They'll still taste amazing, and you'll save your sanity. Serving-wise, a big family-style bowl on the table is classic, but I've also piped mashed potatoes into little swirls for a fancy buffet. My daughter called them potato cupcakes and still asks me to make them that way. Now let's talk leftovers, because no matter how carefully you measure, there always seem to be mashed potatoes left the next day. The fridge is the easiest option. Let them cool to room temperature first, then transfer to an airtight container. They'll keep in the refrigerator for 3 to 4 days. When reheating, add a splash of milk or cream and a pat of butter, then warm them gently on the stove or in the microwave, stirring occasionally. That extra liquid brings them right back to creamy. And here's a confession. One year I prepped mashed potatoes ahead of time to save myself some stress. I thought I was so clever. But when it came time to warm them up, I completely forgot to add any extra liquid. What came out of the oven could only be described as potato spackle. The top was crusty, the inside was stiff, and let's just say my family needed strong arms and good humor to scoop it. They still tease me about the potato brick Thanksgiving. Lesson learned. Never skip the milk and butter rescue mission when reheating. Freezing is also totally possible. Spread cooled mashed potatoes into freezer-safe bags or containers. Flatten them for easier storage. And don't forget to label with the date. I prefer to do this with a black Sharpie right on the bag. This is my standard labeling for the freezer, and it saves me from playing the mystery food guessing game a month later. Another tip, split the mash into family-sized portions before freezing. That way, you only thaw exactly what you need instead of defrosting a giant block of potatoes. They'll last up to 2 months in the freezer. To reheat, thaw overnight in the fridge, then warm slowly in a covered pot with a bit of milk, cream, or even chicken stock. Stir as you go, and they'll be just as comforting as the day you made them. I like to portion them into smaller bags, perfect for quick weeknight dinners when you need a side without all the peeling and boiling. So there you have it, mashed potatoes made simple, with plenty of room to add your own flair. Whether you like them creamy, rustic, garlicky, or loaded with butter, they're a dish that brings everyone to the table. And remember, even if they turn out a little lumpy, nobody's going to complain when there's gravy on top. If you want to see my favorite mashed potato recipes, tips, and more Thanksgiving inspiration, check out my blog and YouTube channel at Arina Photography. And hey, if you've ever had your own mashed potato disaster or victory, I'd love to hear about it. Until next time, happy cooking, and may your Thanksgiving table be full of good food and even better stories.